Can you guys? Okay. So the first one being that non-devs are still expected to be developers. They still have to have control over the development environment. They still have to know what integrations play into the software. Then the second problem is that most software is proprietary. It's impossible to extend software like Photoshop to your needs. So these are the problems that we try to address using OS. Okay, so OS treats non-developers as consumers instead of developers. You declaratively ask for software instead of imperatively cooking up the software yourself. Then you can also publish the software up to a marketplace and extend the software based on your needs. And all this is using AI. Okay, so just so that we are on the same page, right? I'll be showing you how it works. So this is how OS looks like. So as you can see, I can go full screen. So this is an operating system. And you can see your files here as well. Like you guys can see these files, right? I can go PNG. Yeah, this is some flag that we got online randomly. So these files are synced from your Google Drive. So we treat Google Drive as your file system. So I can go to my Finder, I can go to desktop, and I can see all my files under desktop. Then I can go to applications, and I can see all my generated applications. So right now I was saying that we generate software, right? Where does the generated software go? It goes into this applications folder. And I can just like randomly open some application. I can go to my launchpad. Then I can just go and like click on, for example, cache. So if you guys are familiar with like cache simulation, this is how it looks like. If you guys like CS1 2100, then you know this. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so let's get back to the presentation, and I'll feel free to. I'll just show the demo later after I'm done with the presentation. Okay, so the main abstraction within OS is the file. Okay, so everything that you generate within OS is going to be software, and like that software is also a file, and everything that's stored within Google Drive is also a file. And there are several processes that can occur within OS. And the first one is generation and extension. So what that means is whenever you're generating a piece of software or you're extending a piece of software, that is counted under generation and extension. The second one is kernel process. So how the kernel process works is it allows your generated software to be able to read and write files into the file system. So similar to how the operating system gives you access to read and write operations onto your file system using system calls, we also provide similar system call interface so that your generated software can access those files and write to them. Then there's also the usage process, which is just the process where you use the app that you have just generated. Okay, so I'll be covering these first two, and Alison will be covering the last one. Okay, so this is the generation and extension process. Okay, just look at it as a black box for now. The generation and extension process accepts three things, which is your current software, if it exists. So let's say you've generated some software, like I showed just now, the cache simulator. That is an example. Then there's also this thing called agent mode, which I'll be explaining later. Then your prompt. So how do you want to extend your software? What software do you want to generate? Then it goes through this entire process and a new executable is generated in the end. So let's have a look under the hood of this generation process. Okay, so just now I said I'll explain agent mode later. So how agent mode works is if agent mode is enabled, it will have access to various different skills. So I'll be showing you how the generation works. So yeah, this is how you can generate an app. You just click on Command G, and then you can ask for something. You can ask for a calculator, for example. Then here you can see Quick and Agent, these two. So how Quick works is it will instantly one-shot your entire application. So if you think that your application is super simple, then what you can do is just click on Quick, and then you can just ask for it. Then you can also ask for Agent. So what Agent does is it has access to several skills, a skill set, for example, a data visualization skill set, or a drag and drop skill set. Then you can ask for it and it iteratively build up that software for you. So that's what I mean by agent mode in this slide. Okay, yeah. And current software is if you're extending, then current software will exist. And if you're generating from scratch, then current software will be now. Yeah. So all these will go into like an AI model or an agent. So depending on whether agent mode is true or not, and the executable, which is the HTML file with inline JavaScript and inline CSS, is generated in the end. Very nice. There's no USB-C. Okay. Next, we'll be looking at the kernel process. Okay, so this might look familiar to some of you. It's like a regular operating system. So we look from above. That's the layer of abstraction that we are dealing with. These are what the surface above is what the user can see. They can see your generation layer. Like when I click on Command G just now, that's what the user can see. Then your software runtime layer. So how the software runtime layer works is whenever you launch a certain application, when the application shows, that's running on the software runtime layer. So that's that layer right there, that surface. And then you can notice here that there's a gap, and that gap is because you can access the file abstraction layer directly through Finder. Yeah, so this surface is what the user can see. Okay, so after the file abstraction layer, we have a kernel. So this is what the software interacts with. We provide a bunch of services so that the software that the AI generates is really powerful. And then there's the file system, which the kernel interacts with. So again, let's look at it under the hood, and we can see what services we provide. Then we can see we have read file. So for example, some software can just come in and read your file, um, write your file, list files, can even select files and call an LLM. So this part is very interesting, like calling an LLM, because if your software is able to call an LLM, then you are able to kind of generate this entire OS as an application within the operating system itself, which is kind of meta because now the AI can generate software that calls another AI. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, we don't have that capability yet. Okay, yeah. I'll pass on to Alison.
Yeah, so now I'll be covering more about the usage process. So basically, this explains like how a user will interact with the interface of our generative OS. So first is resizable windows, and this is done using React R&D. So you want a demo? So if we switch over to our demo,
Yeah, so
yeah, basically like you can just like readjust. And then another thing that is integrated in our usage process is iframe communication using post message. So essentially for our OS, we also include we can open up multiple windows just like your normal OS like Windows, Mac and whatsoever. So and this basically enables communication across the multiple windows.
okay, so this was software generated by the judge themselves during the hackathon. Yeah, they created a hackathon judging system. Pretty cool. Okay, yeah, continue.
Yeah, and then lastly, we have a unified aesthetic. So as you can see, the apps that are generated by the users, they do have follow the similar aesthetic to the overall OS that used. And this is achieved by passing global.css, which is integrated in our prompt, so that eventually when a user generates that, it actually follows a very unified thematic. Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's pretty much all for our presentation. Thanks. You guys have any questions about like the operating system? Yes. Okay, so I was inspired by these few frameworks at the start. I mean, these allow you to use AI to dynamically generate user interfaces. And then I came across this thing on LinkedIn, like this speed reader thing. And then what it showed was being able to read text faster by having it do like this. Wait, let me just demonstrate it. Oh yeah, so this one is how you select the text file. Okay, it'll take a while to load. Okay, but essentially you just load a text file and then you'll be able to speed read it in the software itself instead of needing to move your eye. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, but I couldn't find any software that does it. So I just thought of what if I can just ask for software instead of needing to set up the development environment and so on. what if I can just ask for it and it just generate it and I can use it on the spot? Yeah, that was the thought process behind it. Yeah, and then yeah, oh yeah, I forgot to show you the marketplace. So there's a marketplace where you can just like um, create an app and then you can publish it into the marketplace, and then other people can like download it and extend it on their own. Yeah. So as you said, like the startups can just like push it here, and other people can extend it. Yeah, but I think it's meant to be open source, lah. But startups don't do open source anymore. Yeah. Okay, so these are just HTML files. Like the software you see here are all just HTML files, and they are being shown within an iframe. So you can actually just take the HTML file and open it in a browser and it works the same way. But the problem is it cannot access the system calls. So you won't be able to access your file system, which is your Google Drive. It'll look the same, but it won't function the same. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? You okay? So you can't see the code here, right? So the entire concept is that you treat the non-devs as non-developers, just consumers, and that's the downside. They don't actually get to debug it, but obviously we can add tools, like for example console logs and so on, so that you can see what errors are being generated and so on. But like now we don't have that. You kind of have to ask the AI to debug it for you. Yeah, like right now it's not working. Okay, I need to ask why is it not working? Yeah. Yep. Okay, how I generate the app and persist it. Okay, okay, so that's interesting. How it does it is like it uses local storage. Like each app itself uses local storage. So initially, I wasn't actually planning to add this feature, but like the AI generated code that just happened to use local storage and that it just like utilized it, averaged it to have like state. So right now, I have a note taking app, and whenever I come back to it, right, it has the same notes because it stores it in local storage. But again, this is not very um, it's not safe. You shouldn't store things on local storage. So I'm thinking of adding a persistence layer, not as a database, but more of like, okay, it can be like something like SQLite, a file-based database that will be stored in like slash data within the Google Drive itself. That'll be pretty cool. It mimics how we store data on like local apps as well. Thanks, guys.